Anyone with a teenager knows it can be hard to get kids to listen. But Molly Baldwin has spent 20 years talking to at-risk teens in some of Boston's toughest neighborhoods. She's been so successful helping kids swear off gangs and violence that she was recently asked to take her life-changing program all the way to the streets of Northern Ireland. Shining City's Tracy Palangian sits down with Molly Baldwin to find out her secret to success.
For over 20 years, Molly Baldwin and her organization, ROCA, have been helping kids in trouble.
Tell me how your strategy is different from other programs. What are some of the hallmarks of ROCA?
We're not probation, corrections, parole, Department of Youth Services, or Child Services. We're just in the community, relentless outreach, and this is the hallmark of ROCA is just sort of relentless, like, we're going to follow you around, we're going to show up, we don't really care if you like us this week, you can be mad at us for 3 months, we're going to keep showing up, and we do that with our partners as well.
ROCA helps at-risk young people move out of violence and poverty.
What we do is really seek out young people who don't engage very well, who are really disconnected, oftentimes don't even know that there's a possibility of changing their lives. And so we literally seek them out, mostly on the street and in the community, and build relationships with them over long periods of time. And then we engage them into programming around life skills, education, and employment.
Studies show that anywhere from 7 to 14% of urban young people are highly disconnected and disengaged, with an estimated 70,000 in Massachusetts considered very high risk.
We literally run a cognitive behavior intervention model on the street, and we don't ask anybody's permission. Often you'll meet young people who are in a state where they sort of want to change, but they don't know how, and you offer them things, and they're like, I don't really want to do that, that's dumb. And we just show up until they're ready to, and start bringing them to stuff that we do, whether it's educational programming or sports programming or dance. We bring them into a center, try to engage them in anything that interests them.
Kids participate in programming with ROCA for 2 to 3 years, and then 2 additional years of follow-up.
If you came and you were ready to go to work, we'd get you to work and get out of your life. But what we found is that our ability to show up for young people all the time, so that if you come to ROCA and you disappear, we go find you. We go to your house, or we go to the street, or where you're hanging out, or who your friends are, or we'll sort of figure out where you are, come get you, re-engage you in programming, and then bring you back.
ROCA also isn't afraid to use some unconventional methods, including one learned in the Canadian Yukon.
Molly, tell me a little bit more about the peacemaking circles that you're famous for.
Sure. It's an alternative communication methodology. It's as old as human beings are. I mean, we've sat around fires to address important things, silly things, hard things through the history of humankind. It's a process that has a bit of ritual, and it really teaches people about values in a way that are meaningful and real, and it helps people kind of tell their own story, listen to other stories, kind of get inspired. And also, actually, it's interesting. People hear circles and they think, oh, you're a bunch of hippies and you're sitting around and you're burning stuff and what are you doing? But it's actually a real behavioral process. It really invites you to kind of look at, well, who am I and who do I want to be?
ROCA has been so successful, Molly was invited to go to Northern Ireland to see how her methods could be applied there.
It was interesting in both Ireland itself and Northern Ireland. There is, and sadly, a real increase in drug addiction, violence, suicide, and kind of really begin to listen and then begin to help them think about, well, what do you do? Because now that civil war is over in Northern Ireland, there are other things going on. And all these unattended young people kind of, their behavior is sort of getting more out there, it's getting more dangerous, and they have no context for it. So we really talked about ROCA's intervention model. How is it you go out, find young people, build relationships, and start, just hauling them in to do stuff until it connects.
Despite all the hard work, not everyone is a success story for ROCA.
At which point do you determine a case, quote, hopeless?
So the hardest thing, obviously, is when a young person dies or they kill someone. I mean, what do you say? Just horrible. There are some young people that don't make the changes you wish they could. Our sort of theory is, if you're alive, we think we still have a chance at this. I think because we're so clear that they can change their lives, that we've created an environment that's so positive and hopeful. I was sort of sharing with someone recently, I feel like we're sort of in on the secret of the world, really. You know, love people enough, stay in it long enough, even when it's really miserable, just stay in it, and believe that something else can happen, and more often than not it does.